Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Kansas. Kansas, introduce yourself.
Hello. Well, I am Kansas Hart, and I am a wife, a homeschool mom of three. And though technically I have a homeschool graduate, we know that the work never stops. So now I guess you could consider us more of in like a mentorship space.
Nice.
Um, but I am an education consultant, coach, whatever title people you like to use, but ultimately I empower parents to feel confident enough to master their children's journey, to take command of it and create the environment and experience they want for their children.
Nice, nice, nice. That's a big task. Educational consultant. So that entails one-on-one sessions. You do webinars, group sessions. How does that look?
So as of now, I'm in a hybrid space with like a self-paced course with modules and one-on-one coaching. Eventually, I do want to expand to group coaching. But for right now, I really am just focused on building the community and giving parents that one-on-one attention, and figuring out the how to plug in a little bit of the one-on-one, but kind of progressing them to the place where they feel confident. It's like the I do, we do, you do.
Yes, yes, yes. How did you get on the homeschool front? What made you say, you know what? Not only am I going to homeschool mine, I want to help other parents homeschool theirs. How did you get there?
To be honest, I so there's two layers. I initially began homeschooling my oldest at well, I was 17 when I had her, so
Oh
17.
wow.
I didn't realize I was homeschooling. I was just so focused on empowering her that I wanted to teach her everything. I was learning so much and I was teaching her as I went. And so um, by the time she was 4, going on 5, and was at that school age, I had a decision to make, but I was unaware of the decision. I didn't know about homeschooling. I didn't know that I could create a whole life around homeschooling so I could put her first. I was just ignorant of the options. So I went with that. And to be honest, there was pressure, from other people like, "Oh, put her in school." And
Mhm.
I guess you could say I compromised in that I'm going to find her the best alternative education option. But if I knew then what I know now, like hands down. So technically I started then, but she entered school in kindergarten, and it was a very conflicting thing for me because I remember telling my family, like, I just feel like this is a waste of time. Like I'm having to inconvenience myself for her to color. She doesn't really like coloring, like what am I doing? So, we went through that, but um I would say I started homeschooling by necessity when she was in 8th grade.
Mhm.
Um, as they say, life be life so life lifed. And by the time she was in 8th grade, she just couldn't deal anymore, so
Mhm.
I had to make a decision. I either keep going and, doing things as usual, or I do something drastic. And I didn't know anything about homeschooling outside of it exists, but I knew I have to pull my baby out or I might not have a child anymore.
Mm.
So I pulled her out, and when I tell you it was nothing but God that like gave me what I needed, because I was a teacher in the same district she was a student, so I had to say, "Hey, I can't I can't keep doing this. And there were other layers to it. I needed a break that I didn't even realize. And it wasn't until I started homeschooling her and addressing her mental health that I realized, yeah, we both need this.
Mhm. What was she experiencing?
Man, she was dealing with social anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, low self-esteem. It was like the kindergartner to we'll say sixth grader. You know what?
Mhm.
Once, though she was in a formal school, like I said, I emphasized one-on-one as much as possible. And I always lean toward alternative education, even if I didn't realize it. So she was in a charter school, and it's unheard of, but there was an 80% parental involvement. We were a community, we were a tribe.
Yeah.
And once she left that space and went into a public middle school, we both got this like reality check. And
Yes.
it
I
was just,
know. Oh my
it
God.
was it was eating away at her, you know. So all of these things we as a collective of parents work to like shelter our kids from, and like, hey, we don't need to deal with this right now, and this and that. Overnight it was a smack dab whammy of stuff, you
Yeah.
know. So the
Middle school
confidence,
is real. People don't understand how real middle school is. I be
it
trying to tell
really
them.
is. It
Like,
really,
middle school is a make or break time for kids. It really is. It's a lot of pressures, and it's a lot that they're opened up to. Like you say, your child was in a private sector and went from a private, like where parents are real hands-on, to public, and what there's like 800 kids and the parents aren't involved. You don't see them, they're non-existent. And then it's peers, those lovely peers that are in all these, houses that you know nothing about, coming into this one space, and it gets messy.
yeah. And that was the hardest part for me because the peers were definitely like a thing. However, it was the adults, you know,
Oh yeah.
that was what really started eating away at my soul. That,
Mm.
you know, you know what's going on. You can't like, you know, you can't ignore it. Like, and it got to a point where, okay, how much longer is this going to, how much longer are you going to allow this to go on? So, I mean, and it was hard. It was very hard because again, I was a teacher in the district she was a student in. So I knew a lot of these people. And so I couldn't live in an illusion, so to speak, because I was in the planning meetings. Okay,
Mm.
like when she would tell me stories about a certain teacher, I couldn't push it off on her or maybe, you know, speculate because I literally know what, like I know this teacher is going into this year coasting and over it. She doesn't want to deal with the standard changing. She doesn't want to deal with the district's goal. Like I know for a fact, you know, so at
Mm.
the level of accountability was I mean, it's always there because we're their parents, but the calling card, the accountability just it went through the roof. So I had to, yeah, I had to make a decision. Do I want my child that didn't ask to be here to keep suffering and then maybe I don't have one? Or do I tell these other kids, and that was the hardest part for me, do I tell these other kids, some of whom, yeah, I'm their person, have told me, like, you who I have in this world, do I tell them, I'm sorry, I can't? And that was hard for me. It took me time to mourn and grieve that and go through like a whole process that I didn't realize I was gonna have to go through. But I had to make a decision. And in this way, I felt like for the first time I chose my daughter. And that was hard to accept that like I told myself I was building this life and this career and everything for you. And in reality, all you wanted was more of me.
Mhm. Oh man. Yes. And I feel you totally on the like, grieving you removing yourself from the classroom. Cause it's hard. That's hard, girl. It took me the shutdown for me to be like, oh, okay, here's my escape. Like, okay. I don't see them. Nobody's telling me how excited they are to have me next year. And all the stuff that you hear in the hallways and the kids telling you, and you're like not like you say, knowing that you're their person and stepping away from that it's big. That's a major deal. Especially the teachers that come with passion and are there for that change that we so desire, because we saw that it wasn't being done right and we thought we were about to go in there and do something different, but we wasn't for real, because there's a whole lot of restrictions and things put in place to make sure you don't step too far out that line. But no, I totally feel you, Kansas. It was a lot to make that step out of the classroom, even if you're watching your child. And I'll tell you, when I had my oldest teaching in a Title I school, I used to cry and felt like I was cheating my students because I had a daughter, because I had a child, and I was not able to dedicate as much time as I felt they needed because they were so far behind. It was so much going on, and the kids, like, it was a lot. So I totally understand you, but then you kind of snap to it like, hey, all right, I love y'all, but I love her more because she came on I pushed her on my vagina. So I'm gonna go with her for a little bit. All right. So you made that transition, and how was that for you?
That was hard. I didn't realize, like, I knew I was tired. I knew I was thin, but I didn't realize I had a looming breakdown waiting to happen.
Mm,
And I knew that if if I didn't sit still, if I didn't sit still for a moment, like for so long I was able to achieve goals and reach milestones people said I wouldn't, because I had
had
a
a child, yeah.
destination.
I was say you had a child young, and you had, like, I'm sure I already know the naysayers was heavy on.
I mean, just coming from like a toxic foundation, a very toxic foundation, and having to break so many patterns, break so many generational patterns, it slowed me down. And I remember somebody telling me when I was 19, you got to get away from your family. You have to, because my time, or my plan at the time was medicine. And other people said I couldn't do it because I had a child. This person said, nah, I see you. No, you hands down, you can do anything you put your mind to. But I'm telling you, with your family, no. And I honestly dismissed it. I dismissed it because I was like, they don't know me like that. It's like I've talked to this person a couple of times. They don't know me like that. They don't know my situation. Like, they don't know my family. They don't understand that it's just a small group of people. It's like we're good. And so I had to spend about a decade learning the hard way, um, putting myself and my daughter through unnecessary stress. So when I finally had enough, and again, the accountability that this child needs me to parent rather than feeling focus, rather than me being so worried about, well, this happened, and this hurt her, and this might have been traumatic, so I don't want to push this boundary or push this person out, because what's going to happen, like, when I started looking at how much of my life was dictated by fear, and how many decisions I made out of fear and what those outcomes were. Yeah, then I had to like make some very, very drastic changes. Um, but it's cool because we walking out, like, fear doesn't run us. We see things, we attack them head on. But um, I mean, the only thing to be afraid of is being afraid of something, you know. So yeah, we've made a huge shift in our family culture. You know, I didn't realize as much as I was trying to swim, I was swimming upstream when all I had to do was just flow.
Yes, yes. So you found a balance. Was that after baby number 2 or 3? When did you find that balance and y'all found y'all routine? Like, how did that happen?
I had a moment like in some ways I'm still refining, but
Okay. Oh
I've
yeah, it's a
had
never
to
ending process. It's
yeah,
definitely is.
I had to release perfectionism
Mm,
to get to the path of progression. And the coldest part about it is I thought I was on the path of progression.
mm,
Now realizing I was constantly blocking myself into a perfection space. And because of that, my daughter and I, we couldn't truly grow. We couldn't truly flourish because the standards were always unrealistically high. Again, one of those generational pattern gifts. Um, but as far as creating balance now, I've just been very clear about what matters to me and what doesn't. And anything that doesn't matter, it's low priority. And anything that hinders what does matter, I eliminate it. So anyone,
nice.
anything, any belief, any like, if it doesn't help us build,
Mm,
progress, like it has to go.
nice. Yeah, girl. No, you're saying a lot because especially when speaking about, your friend that told you about having to cut ties with your family or just moving away. Like a lot of people don't understand how trapped their family be having them in none like supporting like conditions. Like they're not necessarily for your benefit. I guess it's just because that's what they've been doing for generations. Like you said, generational patterns, generational cycles, generational curses. Some say either way, it's generational of okay, this is what we've been doing, this is how it looks, this is what our family does, and we're just gonna keep doing it, even though we know that it is traumatizing.
Right.
Adults and kids, and people are having to heal from all this stuff. We're just gonna keep doing it though, because this is the way that we've known to do it forever.
Hmm.
It takes a lot to step away and be like, you know what? This is insane. So
Like, yeah, this math ain't
this
mathing.
is this is not adding up. This is wild. And I don't think this is supposed to be this hard. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over here and do this. And I'm gonna check back in with y'all a little bit. Because me and my family need this. This isn't gonna work for our unit. So you stepped out. I know the voices were heavy on you homeschooling. What?
Man,
Why?
when I tell you, when people ask me like, "Oh, what was the hardest obstacle?" or "How did she transition?" or this and that, don't get me wrong, it was definitely difficult for her because she's very she's a very outgoing person. And even in the midst of her battling all of these things, she still liked interacting with people, not so much her peers, because like I said, we were homeschooling from the jump. So
Mm,
her engaging with adults or older kids wasn't uncommon. You know, she always interacted in a mature way, you know, not grown or anything, but just, you know, she wanted to be intellectually challenged and she wanted to discuss the things she enjoyed. So, yeah, would love talking to the librarian, you know, or some of her teachers that shared similar interests. So I was concerned that that would be what was missing when we started this journey. Um, but I realized so much of the work was me. It took me detoxing my formal education experience. So even though I was open to education alternatives and a different way of thinking, I was cultivated in a box. So even though I was engaged in, elementary and middle school, skipped 2 grades, and always kind of had this out of the box education experience, I was still cultivated in the box. I still believed in the box. I still wanted to create some sense of the box. So to be confronted with the reality that, like, yo, you can do whatever you want. Like, there's nothing stopping you. Even in California, 'cause that's where I was in, you check off a couple boxes, you have a few formalities, but they're minimal. It was so different from the lesson planning that I did, the standards-based teaching that I did. Like, I had to detox from not only this formal educator mindset, but also this this different kind of parent. I thought I was involved and I was engaged, relatively speaking. That was the hardest part for me, to start to deal with myself and look at the reality that, yes, you are involved and you have been engaged and you have given her lots of opportunities. And, like, even though she was going through all of these mental health things, I was putting her in therapy. I was going to parenting classes. I was still addressing them. But once I stepped back, I put everything on pause, and it was just, the two of us, and um, with no limits. Then I had to really look at, yo, a lot of our lives were consumed with the formal education space because we were limited with the Monday through Friday, because of the Monday through Friday consumed so much of our time. I had to put her in a Saturday extracurricular. I had to do the field trips on Sunday, and so much of our lives were consumed with end goal in mind. So once we stepped back and we had time, then I realized, yo, you really ain't been parenting your kid. Like, that was so hard for me to go on the journey, and the thoughts weren't friendly, they weren't lovely. Eventually they got there because I had to take ownership of my journey, that, like, okay, maybe I did drop the ball in some areas, whatever, but this thing is not going to trap me or break me. Like, I have power over this. I'm going to, like I said, face this fear, address this truth, and I'm gonna handle it. So, um, yeah, that was that was definitely the hardest part for me, accepting that. I outsourced parenting as much as I thought I didn't. I did. And adjusting to the fact that I don't, she doesn't need to be studying for 6 hours. Like, if it's taking her this long, it's because she, well, initially, I would say, like, you're not taking this seriously. You're not doing this, whatever. Even she had to detox from the box. So eventually we got to a place of exposing truths that she would, I would take so long because it didn't feel like I was doing enough. There's no way I could do all of my classes in 2 to 3 hours. And this was with a rigorous course load. She felt like, there's no way I could be done. Like, I'm not doing enough. And that was eating away at her self-esteem. So I'm gonna extend this out to maintain the school norm, what I'm used to, so I can feel good about myself, so I can feel good about this experience. And when I tell you, we had so much mindset work, to the point where when I graduated her, I was seriously like, okay, I'm looking at these transcripts, I'm looking at the portfolio. She had applied to her university, and I was like, man, did we really accomplish anything? Like, uh, especially, again, I had to check that, put that mindset in a box that, yes, you had this one thing in mind, when you were planning for her to be competitive at all the universities and, you know, this rigorous academic load and community college dual enrollment and, you know, all these, yes, you had this in mind, but you realized it wasn't working. So you let it go. So let it go. This is the new thing. This new thing is going to work. Have faith that this new thing, it works. And we went with it, and she got into the ones, I mean, honestly, it was the one school she wanted, the one program she wanted, which is NAU's personalized learning program. So it allows her to get her degree on her terms, you know. So when she started seeing and started talking to her friends who were going to the traditional schooling situation and hearing their stories, and like it really hit her senior year that, oh man, these are chains. Like, I don't want this. She was like, skip that. I want to be able to continue traveling. I want to be able to spend a week at my aunt's house. I want to be able to um, go to Mexico when people are not going for spring break. Like, I don't want to have to go when everybody else goes. I want to do my own thing. I want to preserve this. So for her, it was, nah, this is the one. This is the one and only. I don't I don't need the other programs. I'm gonna go with this one.
Nice. So, okay, because y'all entered with high school. High school is, considered like the most challenging. A lot of people teeter away and actually send back in high school. Like they, will homeschool the lower grades and everything. But once they get to high school, typically, not, I won't say typically, but at times, parents, are the kids asked to be returned back to public school or returned to, or experience public school in general, or parents feel too intimidated, so they end up putting their students into public school. You all started with ninth grade high school, right?
It was eighth grade,
Oh, so it
second
was eighth.
semester. So she
Okay.
started
Oh,
her
wow.
second
So y'all didn't even
semester.
finish the school year. It got that
Mhm.
intense. So y'all stepped out and you still had the school mentality. So at first you were doing what? Curriculums? How was y'all day set up?
So that second semester, like I said, I'm an educator beyond being a formal teacher. Like I'm an educator. Um, I seriously tell people I was academic coaching. I was doing this in elementary school, and like I took it seriously. So my teachers who saw the gift, who knew how to leverage their resources, they put me to work. And those were the classes I thrived in. It was because of my fourth grade teacher. Shout out to Miss Takayama from Merced Elementary in, I think it was West Covina, California. But anyway, I will forever sing her praises because she kept telling the administration, there's nothing wrong with this girl. She doesn't need medication. She doesn't need ADHD. She doesn't have ADHD. She doesn't need the Ritalin
Uh,
that I was spitting out and not taking in the nurse's office. That's another conversation. But she just said she needs challenge. She needs more. Like I give her as much as I can, but she can't keep like this girl needs more. Well, she would at least leverage me in the classroom. So I was helping, not only helping them with content, with the material, but motivating my peers, coaching them, pairing them up, extending their learning. So when I say like I'm an educator, like I do, like this isn't by trade. This is my nature. This is who I was created
nice.
to be. Like I live for it. I can't help it. I'm going to build somebody up in some way. It just was gonna happen. Um, but I started with this one thing in mind, like, because this is me. Like, this is what I do. Like, this is gonna be amazing. Like, we're gonna start this second semester and we're gonna flourish. Like, I know she's going through this, but we're gonna be free now. So it's just gonna be amazing. Okay, when I tell you it was so bad that
Mm,
ninth grade, her first year of ninth grade, like we'll say third quarter, we did it on our own. Fourth quarter of eighth grade, she was in a like a online charter school.
mm.
We both just like, I know when to call it. I have no pride. I have no ego. I know when to call in the troops. And it was at a place where my morale was low, her morale was low, and we were both like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm over this in different ways. And um, but I had decided, I had cut off all other options. This was going to work. I was not putting her back in this space that was taking life from her. So we did the online charter, and it definitely helped. It was helpful because the program that we found, it was a hybrid situation. So
Mm,
she did her core classes online, and there were spaces for her to do enrichment in person. So she got to pursue theater. She got to I forgot what the other classes were in 8th grade, but I remember theater. She loved that one. And we just started to get a taste of the freedom that, okay, yeah, we have to drive a little ways out twice a week, but that's twice a week. The other days we can do other things. And a day when you want to just sleep in, like that's okay.
mm,
So um, it was better because I when I kid you not, when I tell you, there was a time when I was picking her up. It was um training days. I had a training day. And so normally I would be right next to her school. My job, our house, and her school were all 10 minutes away from each other with no traffic. So it was one of those days where we got out 2 o'clock super early. I was like, you know what? I can go home. I can get some work done. I can, do things at home. Like, I'm gonna go home. When I tell you, I went to go pick her up. I am not exaggerating. It took me over an hour to get off of a freeway exit.
mm.
Lots of like, it took me over an hour.
You
I
were
got
still
there.
in Cali?
I was still in Cali
Okay.
on 91. And yeah, like I said, these were my peers, so
Hmm.
the forgot what his title was, but I remember he oversaw the like after school program. This is my homeboy, and he was looking at me sideways,
Mm.
like you one of those parents. And
Oh.
yeah, and it was my reality check though. Like I would tell her, like, hey, don't get it like me wrong, like work collaboratively, show up and whatever, but this is work. This is work.
Mm,
And I'm not saying you can't be connected with those that you work with, but this is not family. This is business. Okay. School is business. Not everybody's your friend. Just like at work, not everybody's your friend. Some people you connect with, but this is a professional space. So treat it as such. So, we were definitely cordial, cool. I'm not even gonna say cordial. We were cool. I'm cordial with everybody, but we were cool. But in that moment, it reminded me, like, even though this guy knows me, he knows me. Like, we know each other for years. He knows how I get down. He should know that something came up. Something came up. And when I thought about the stress I felt, the powerlessness I felt, all
mm,
for a freeway exit, and there wasn't even an accident. I'm not even
mm.
gonna front. There was a moment where I was like, there better be an accident. And then once I thought about that, I replayed the thought. I was like, girl, what are you saying? Like, no, you don't want somebody to have an accident to justify this, but the stress of um not even living in California, because I was born and raised, but living in California, not only dealing with my life and the stresses of it, because I will tell anybody, California is an amazing place, depending on who you are, where you live, and how you live.
Mm,
But I wasn't just dealing with my stress, I was dealing with the stress of 200 plus kids, 200
mm,
plus experiences. And because of who I am, my reputation, I was getting the 45 kid classroom
oh,
with
that's wild.
40. Yeah, there was a time when I looked on my roster and I just knew, like, okay, they balanced out classroom. So eventually, this is going to get settled out.
Mm,
No, like this was your roster. You got them. And and like I said, dealing with all the internal struggles that I know I'm the one person that, yeah, I am going to give these kids another layer of support. My English language learners, like there was one one class period I had that I have 4 different languages represented in the classroom. Just my Spanish speaker was at 3 different ability levels. About a third of my class were, like I said, I can stand some of the terminology, but they needed more, substantially more support than their peers. It was as if a counselor, I was like, I could be tripping, okay? I could be tripping. That coincidentally, I wasn't an honors teacher, but coincidentally, all my honors kids are in one class period, and all of my kids who need some more support are in another period. I could be wrong. It could be pure coincidence.
No, that was definitely intentional.
But things like that.
What grade were you teaching?
9th grade.
Mm.
And so 9th grade biology.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
So it's middle school, as you were talking
Mm.
about that middle school struggle, it was middle school. And because of that, because of my co-teaching experience in middle school and seeing like, these kids are rough. Like, not it wasn't just what you remembered, like there's levels, and it has definitely intensified. And as much as you want to, sometimes you want like look at the kids, you can't help but ask why. You can't help but come on, like this is how you're acting with these peers, but I know how you low key it in the cut, these 2 minutes we're together. Like, what's up? What's really? And then you're seeing all these patterns with these kids. Like, it was just this, like I said, my soul died the longer I stayed in the formal classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I
Girl.
died, like, and I thought, and the crazy thing was, I was like, I became a formal teacher because I've been in education all this time in all these different capacities. Like I said, education coach, content coach. My first job I will say in my at my university, I was a chemistry tutor for a while, and the job I didn't apply for it. I was at a tutoring session, and I was just helping a classmate, and there was a student who was getting ready to graduate, and he said, like, "Hey, I'm about to graduate. Like, would you be interested in this? Like, I want you to get my job." And I was
Uh,
like, "What?" Okay. Because I did want to work on camp. I was working campus in the child development center. And yeah, it was like, wait, I get double pay to do something that's more aligned with where I'm going, which at the time was medicine. Sure, yes, please. So it was just a no-brainer. Like, you're a teacher, you're a teacher. And that's why I'm so mindful of the language I use. I tell parents, like, sure, you might struggle if you're trying to be a teacher. You might, because there's certain skills and certain language, and yes, focus on your pedagogy and this and that. But if you want to be an educator, no, you don't need the boxes. You don't need the titles. You focus on the person. And I'm not saying one can't be both, but the the belief that I have to have this formal training to be this person, to pour into people in this way. I tell people all the time, I was a better teacher. I was even a better teacher before I had formal training, when I just did it from the heart, when nothing was going to stop me from meeting this person's need. If that meant, honestly, I don't know how to do this. I think I do, but like I said, perfectionism up the ante. But just me, like I say, I have no pride, I have no ego. If I don't know how to do it, I'm not going to front and tell you I know how to do it. So, yeah, there were students I coached or I tutor where I would say, you know what? I don't know how to do this, but I promise you, you give me 24, 48, 72, our next meeting, and you'll be a master when we're done, because nothing's going to stop me. And that was part of my coaching, my impartation, you're going to walk away from here believing nothing's going to stop me.
Mhm.
I thought I was gonna recreate that, I don't know if you've seen any of those memes where it's like, "I'm a teacher. This is what people think I do. This is what my family think I do. This is what the public thinks I do. This is what my parents think I do." But I thought I was gonna be like, yeah, Robin Williams in that movie,
Oh, Dead Poet Society.
I think it
That
was, yeah,
one?
Deb. I think it was that one. I don't remember who was in Good Will Hunting. I think it was him. I just thought I was gonna be imparting wisdom on children. You can do it,
Yes.
children. Parents, you can do it, and this and that. And when I tell you, like I said, it killed my soul. I thank God that at the time I was in the formal space as a teacher, I was also working in a variety of capacities for a college prep, a culturally based college prep program. And so, because though my soul was dying in this space, it was being nurtured in this other space. And I was able to compare and contrast my experience in real time that, like, yo, Monday through Friday, I'm tired. I'm burnt out. My peers are saying, girl, you doing too much. Just like, just do B work, for my higher achievers, whatever. Do B work. We're still going to get an A. You know, but that's not me. I'm the best. I give the best. I deliver the best. I deserve the best. Whoever I'm connected to deserves the best. So I can't. Like, I would try to communicate. I realize they don't understand my mind. We have two different belief systems. They don't understand I can't be subpar. I can't deliver it's not even in my nature. Even when I try, I can't. So I was trying to rise to an occasion Monday through Friday, imparting on students who, like, straight up tell me, like, number one, yo, I love what you're doing here. Like, I know you've got us, but you can't talk to me about getting paid because you a broke teacher. And when my students would say it, like, I was like, like, look, okay, look. Like I said, there's no pride, there's no ego there. So it's like I can't say anything because I get paid once a month and this math ain't mathing. When I'm talking to my colleagues and they're just like, oh yeah, credit cards over summer and then pay it back September, October, like it's cool. I was like, no, this math ain't, this is crazy. This feels crazier than when I was, a student, or when I went to, what was this called? I think it was a Teach for America meeting, and it was for graduates, and they were talking about, we don't pay you, but there's a stipend. I was like, wait a minute, how do people live off $2,000 a month? They were like, oh, you could get like food stamps and this and supplement. I was like, oh, nah, man, I done fought, like, this was the generational pattern I'm trying to break. Like,
Mhm.
no, I'm a college graduate. But um, yeah, I had this contrasting experience that let me know that, like, okay, in this way, it's because of this one Saturday a month. Well, it was multiple Saturdays, the way it worked out for me. But as a parent, because my daughter was in the program, but I was also a teacher, a collaborator, the curriculum development. I served so many roles because I was like, nah, this thing has to live. I'm breathing fire into it. And I didn't realize, like, midway into my master's credential program, I was offered like a full-time position just within the program. And looking back, sometimes I'm like, "Ah, should I have done it?" Because I know if I had done it, um, the fire that I brought, it would have given it this new life.
Mm.
Um, but it didn't matter because I was like, "No, no, I have to finish my program." Like, I spent all this time and this money, and again, those kids need me. They need me, but the kids who needed me the most were like, nah, like, some of them felt like I have too much at home, I'm distracted, whether they realize that's what they were communicating. That's what some of them communicated, but other ones were like, I want my life goal is to be on Bad Girls Club. So if you can't help me see where I'm so serious. I caught one student. She we had a no phones policy, so we no phones, but I wasn't like, hey, if you gotta check a text, talking to your parent or something, that's one thing. I'm not gonna trip. Some of my students had to help a younger sibling, check on them, sure, but you're not about to live on your phone in my class. So to have a student on the phone watching Bad Girls Club, when I'm telling you, and she knew very like, and I people might judge that or
She was
whatever.
studying. She was studying.
She was, and she knew exactly what she was doing. Like, as soon as I turn 18, this is where I'm going. Like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna be the best. And most importantly, like some people would have judged her, where she had the mindset, I'm building my brand prior to. So when I come to them, they want me because I have an audience. I was like, it's definitely not traditional. It's not my biology class is not preparing her for that, because as much as this part of me is intrigued and maybe I don't want to help her because, I don't know what the family values are and this and that. I want to build the entrepreneur in her. I want to build
Yeah.
these other skill sets in her. But my content doesn't align. That's not it. I have to prepare y'all for these. I have to prepare you. And that, like I said, was killing my soul. I have to prepare you for an assessment test that I know doesn't even matter. I have to
Mm,
tell you it matters, but the school's already decided it doesn't matter because we're just rolling out these new standards. This one doesn't even matter. Like if the kids kind of sort of like don't even learn anything, it doesn't matter because we're just working on teacher mindsets this year. I kid you not. So there were so many conversations that would be had in meetings where I felt like a hypocrite. I felt fake. I felt like a fraud. I felt like a scammer. I felt like
mm,
like all these horrible, like I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible person. I'm doing some. I was like, I might as well be like, I don't know, a bad salesman. Like, yeah, I feel like a horrible bad salesman. Like
mm,
I'm selling people a lie.
mm,
I'm telling them like, I know what's what, like, when my kids, "Oh, you so cool," like, and because you real with us, Imma be real with you. Like, my dad has a successful business. He's got a 3rd grade education. I'm doing this for them. I'm sitting here for him, but I'm gonna graduate and go work with him. We own properties in Mexico and multiple properties here. What you're telling me to go to college, to delay investing, to delay building wealth, to delay this, and I'm telling you I already have the roadmap. It's like, what do you say to that? So my colleagues who would take things personal and get in their feelings because this child doesn't want chemistry, they don't want environmental science, whatever, it's not you. They just have a life
mm,
plan that you're not considering. So those kids, I would say, you know what, I got you. I respect that. What I still need you to give me your best though. I still need you to, I'm building wealth with you. And you are here. You're showing up because I had a student. He was with me in freshman year. He was with me sophomore year. He was with me junior year. So I said, come on, bro. Like you know better, you do better. Your dad deserves better. You told me about his struggle. You told me about his fight. So is this what you like? What are you doing? Like, even if you feel like this doesn't matter to you, what about him? So you showing up like he just wants you to pass, okay? He just wants you to pass. Imagine if you gave him a B.
mm,
Like what would that do for him? So now I got this kid who didn't care and he's like, you know what? I just want to get this over with. Like he was feeling a little embarrassed because he's with freshmen or whatever. You know what? I want to give my dad a B. I can do that. I know I'm gonna have to study and I'm gonna have to come and get tutoring, like, but I'm gonna give him that. So to be in this space where I don't take it personal that the kids don't love the content. I'm not consumed by the content. I'm thinking about skills. I'm thinking about what the bigger picture, their bigger picture, their why, like their why matters. Why this kid is here, it matters. The kids who are like, I think this is dumb. Why do you think this is dumb? Because this is going to help me address their needs. Like, as I'm talking to them about mitosis and meiosis, which they may or may not care about, they probably don't. You know what? I remember family is important. So if I can talk to this kid about, hey, is it important to understand this because of, of cancer? You told me that, didn't your mom have to go to Mexico to take care of this loved one who had cancer? This is how this research connects with that. So I have this buy-in, I have this interest. Like I said, it just it took away from me, but it also, working in this other space, helped me see that though I am ultimately cultivating the box, I am doing it in this freer way. And it's allowing me to nurture more of what, um, not even what I want to nurture, not even the what, but the why. I want to nurture these things in these kids and parents. That's a whole nother thing that, that's why I do what I do. But I have to pour into these parents because they're pouring into the kids. And if they feel powerless and helpless, they're not acting in their power, their authority, their gift. I'm not being supported as a teacher, as an educator, but they're not walking in their function as educator, as commander, as leader. They're leaving it up to me. And that was the hardest part for me to try to bridge the gap with some of my colleagues who felt like this parent just doesn't care. This parent is disengaged. This parent doesn't. And it wasn't true for all the parents, because there were some that, like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. This one for real, for real. Like, and it's not just the what, but the why. I had a student who was diagnosed with autism, and the mom didn't want to accept that diagnosis. So you can imagine how those IEP meetings went. You can imagine how engaging in the interventions went, with that collaboration was. I can't just look at the fact that the parent's not engaged. I have to look at the why. Why? So to have colleagues say, this doesn't matter, like they don't care. It's like, why? Did it ever cross your mind that this parent is actually, they have so much faith in the system, and they have so much faith in you, that they have entrusted you with their most precious gift. They believe, they know that you are here because you love what you do, and that you are here to protect and serve. They have the utmost confidence in you. So they have given you everything they work for. I'm not going to front, some of the conversations about immigration and all of that. I was in California, so there was a lot of that chatter where some of my colleagues would see these people who broke the rules and this and that. And I'm not for or against, that's a whole nother conversation. But like I said, I was focused on seeing the people. And like, what I saw was, man, this parent was this parent was willing to risk it all to give their kid a better life. You know what? I might be able to create a bridge. I might be able to leverage that mentality to get the support I need as a teacher. Like, hey, your kid is goofing off. I need this support. This is what I need. They're strong in this way, but they're weak in this way. I want to focus on building that. Can you help me in this way? And I would listen to my students who would say, like, yeah, I want to do this, but my parent doesn't get it. Or I want to do that. They're traditional. They're a traditional immigrant family. I have 3 job options. They don't understand the power of social media. They don't understand this new, or they don't understand. Well, you know what? Like, I'm like, you know what? This child is getting A's and B's. This child is working hard, whatever. Maybe I can just talk to the parent. I ain't trying to sway nobody anyway, but maybe I can let them know that, hey, just do your research. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from your child. Just look at job opportunities next 5 years, 10 years, college paths that will lead to this. Just look for yourself. And if it still don't sit right with your soul, hey, do what you got to do. But more often than not, what I found was, most parents If not all, I will still, dare I say, all. I don't look at parents' generational patterns. I don't look at parents' limiting beliefs. I still hold that all parents want the same things for their kids, whether or not they perceive themselves to be equipped to deliver.
Mm,
There are some people who give their kids up for adoption, loving
mm,
them, not wanting to do it, but believing, I didn't have a mom. I can't be a mom. This is what's best for you.
yes,
I
ma'am.
still hold by every parent wants the same thing for their child. They want what's best, even if they are doing things that are contrary to it. You know, even the parents who she lived for the weekend and this and that, whatever. Obviously, she doesn't care because she doesn't, whatever. Maybe she don't know better, and I'm not saying that's okay. I'm not saying that that's right, but if this is what she knows, especially if this is like you said about families, this is what she sees, this is what she knows, this is
Mhm,
how parents parent, for every one person who gets out and experiences something, who can go in their mind and envision something different, even if they don't have a clear picture, who can just hold you to, I don't know what the different looks like, but I know that there's something different. For every one person who can do that, there are eight who can't. And there who is one who is just stuck, who needs a clear picture, who needs somebody to like put the picture in their face. Look, here you go. This is where you're at. This is where you can be, but you have to put in the work to get there. Like there are some people who need it in their face, smack dab in their face. So, yeah, it was definitely a journey because I had to look at like why am I dead in this space? Why am I alive here? What brings me to life? How can I stay in this space? How can I bring life to other people? How can I work with families in this other way, and people can have their opinions. It is what it is, but unless there's like a community school culture, the formal school space is just not going to work. It's not going to work.
right.
There's no way people can, okay, this person's focused on socio emotional well-being, this person's focused on content, or we can create some sort of like happy little sprinkle bridge. No, like that's unrealistic. That's unrealistic. If both people, both sets of all parties of the village are not fully invested in whole children, in healthy children, in whole parents, healthy parents, educated parents, empowered parents, if everybody's not fully invested, the ship will not move forward. So that is why I do what I do, because I know that um there are parents like who just feel so defeated. I mean, I was there. I was like, man, I know I can. I'm doing it. I've done it. I'm doing it for other people. Why am I struggling so hard? Why is it so hard to pour into my one? I only have one. Why is it so hard? It was like, oh yeah, because you have all these issues. You've got these patterns. You've got these traumas, some of which you inherited, some of which you created. You have to deal with this. You have to deal with this mess before you address content. So our journey consisted of outsourcing because we just had to do so much digging, but it allowed us to get to a place of like, okay, we gonna focus on this content. We gonna work on your writing and your thought development and all of that, but we're gonna do it in a way that focuses on our life goals, our future goals, our current goals. Right now, we're focused on healing, being whole,
Mhm,
being,
yes, ma'am.
being connected. The fact that we're mother and daughter and we feel so disconnected, that's a problem. So we have to put in this work. I have to own my part as a parent, what I did wrong, and learn how to do better. And I
Yeah.
thought I was learning before, but I had to accept that, yo, for these last 12 years, you good job, great effort. But there's so much more. There's so much more to it. And my daughter had to accept that hey, you got to let go. Some of the things are letting go of the idealized relationships that you may or you may not never have with other family members. Like you may have this, you also might not. You have to accept them for who they are and where they are and
Mm.
adjust accordingly to stay in a way that's healthy for your soul. Establishing boundaries. That was enmeshment was a generational pattern we had to address. So we had to learn how to establish and assert healthy boundaries with ourselves, with one another, with the outside world. So we had all this work to do to lay a foundation for each of us to be able to live connected and not codependent. And, it's because of that that now my daughter, when I have moments like, did I make the right choice? Because, like I said, looking at those transcripts, we didn't get to this. We didn't get to that. We didn't get to that, you know, with the formal plan I had, the dual enrollment, because I knew how the AP courses work, AP testing, how that worked out for some students who would work super hard, not pass with a high enough score, not get the credit. Some institutions didn't want to accept it. And I just was said when I would coach parents and let them know, hey, if you want to ensure that your child's senior year is fruitful, dual enrollment. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. So in my mind, dual enrollment, high school senior year, dual enrollment, high school. Her senior year wasn't that. Her senior year was, let me create work life harmony. Let me create my own systems. My mom has given me a foundation, given me norms for her home, her preferences, her whatever. Eventually, I'm going to be on my own. What are my preferences? What are the things I'm going to take to my home for myself? Because my daughter, her plan is to, she's going to stay with us until she's married. But it's like even then, okay, I have my own home. So, we bought a it's just been a whole journey. Like this homeschooling journey allowed us to have space to think, to decide, you know what? It turns out we never wanted the big house. We watched tiny home tours, like that's what we wanted. We wanted freedom. We wanted to travel freely. We wanted experience. We want more. And it created an environment for it not to just be a what could be, but like, no, we're creators. We create the reality we want. We want a huge plot of land. We want a community. Well, let's buy a land. Let's buy some land. We have land. Okay, my daughter's like, well, okay, my parents have land, and all I have to do is get my housing. So, for 10 grand, I can have debt-free living. I can have a debt-free housing situation. I can I can come out the gate and invest. I don't have to spend all this time figuring things out or this and that. Like I can still get my degree on my terms, build a business on my terms. And because of our homeschooling journey, she's getting her bachelor's at NAU. She's studying to be an IBCLC, an international board certified lactation consultant.
Oh,
She's
wow.
learning business principles and business foundation. Like now she's reading books on business management, mental health, growth, like all these things. Like it was so hard for me not to push and okay, reading checklists and box or whatever, but to just reinstill a love for learning, a feeling of empowerment, self-efficacy, her knowing that it's okay. If I don't know how to do what's at point B or be the person at point B, I can become that person. And then I can do those things and I can have the fruit of what's at point B. So we invested so much in that and we did enough content for the transcripts and for her to feel just like, hey, I had for her to connect with her peers. We did enough, but we focused on her being whole and being empowered. And now she's thriving. She's killing it. It's like she's her senior year, she was able to take advantage of so many opportunities so many internships. She was able to create, like, you know what? You don't have an internship, but why not? Like, I can outline this thing for you. I can help in this way. I can connect. She's made so many connections. And most importantly, because she was homeschooled, she was able to go with me to my IBCLC to get the support I needed and see, like, this is interesting. Like, what do you do? How does this work? And, here we are. So it's been it's been such an amazing journey. And when I think about how I can support parents in creating whatever it is that is for them, whatever it looks like. So for the parents who are like, that sounds cool, but I still want my kids to go to Harvard or Yale or my in-state institution, or you know what? That sounds amazing. Like, I never thought about being able to take our everyday lives or my business or my profession and create a curriculum around that. I never thought about I can take the life we already live and build learning experiences, formal learning experiences that will build solid transcripts, but will also emphasize, that will go beyond the skill development, that first level depth of knowledge that the formal schooling space tends to focus on, or even level 2, which is skill development. Like, sure, yeah, that's cool, but what about strategic thinking? Let's focus on strategic thinking or extended thinking. Let's allow our kids to be creators, especially the older ones, but even the younger ones. Like, hey, you want to learn this thing? I'm going to give you a framework of how we learn. I'm going to give you this framework. Now you create. Even my oldest, okay, you want to do this, you want to engage in this space in this way. These are the parameters. Now you create something. Give me something to leverage with younger students. Give me something to, so it's just I can do this all day. I eat, I breathe, I like live for it, because it's there's nothing more satisfying than knowing that, I can truly have whatever life I want. I can give my children whatever life I want. So if I'm a family and, hey, we need these 2 paychecks right now. That sounds fine and dandy, but we need but guess what? We can customize a plan for you. You can teach your children around your workday. You can do an hour here. You could do an hour there. You could do an hour there. You can incorporate it. You can incorporate it into your day. You can have your children helping you as part of their curriculum. You have your business. Well, guess what? Not only can you teach them your principles, teach them what it is that you do, because especially if you plan on expanding your business and keeping it, to at least have the option to pass it to them and them keep it, or leverage it in whichever way you want. And then on top of that, your child can get paid with a tax deductible wage, like, come on, kids, they want the same motivations we do. They want those same motivators. They want to feel great about what they've done. They want to feel a sense of accomplishment. They want to connect. They want to contribute. They want to create. And then when you tether a dollar to it, that, hey, this is what you love. I believe in you. I know you can do this. You can empower your peers in this way. You can connect with the community in this way. You can do this thing, and I will put a couple dollars behind it. Other people will pour into it. And on top of that, I just have to say this one thing. Our kids have this power, this gift, that if we position them right, they are the the leverage they have, the willingness of other people to pour into our children and support their dreams and nurture their dreams in a way that dissipates the older they get. It's like, why are we not tapping into the fact that, yeah, people want to celebrate this 12-year-old's business? Why? Because they're 12. Just the
Right?
fact that
Exactly.
they read Cash Flow Quadrant, they read E-Myth, they read a couple books, and And now they're business geniuses compared to a lot of adults, but because they're doing this thing they love, and they're building their academic portfolio, they're building their professional portfolio, and people are willing to buy in and pour into them. So yeah, my what I do is, for the parents who have decided, like, we gonna get you there. We gonna get you there.
All right. Nice, nice. Do you have a name for your education consultant?
Yes, so the name of my business is TransformED, with the capital ED, you know, 'cause
Mhm.
education is the key. But my company just focuses on transformations, the layers of transformation. We transform the parent to transform the child. We transform the mindset to transform perspective. We transform generations. You know, people ask me like, okay, what do you do? And I'm like, well, it depends on how I'm feeling on the day. But
Right.
ultimately, I'm an education consultant coach, but I'm a community builder. I'm a wealth builder. I'm a legacy builder. I empower parents to know that you don't need anybody else to do this. You have everything in your hands. What you don't know, guess what? Guess who can learn? Like, guess who can learn? And you don't even need to know before you start the journey. You can, all you have to do is decide. You can learn with them. You can learn right alongside, and you can stay ahead. Just an easy with, I tell parents all the time, you don't know how many teachers that you're sending your kids to do that, especially when they start a new curriculum, when they start a new subject matter. They might have a big picture plan, right? They have the year, usually semester, you know, maybe even quarter. They just have a where's the end goal, but they're week by week in it. They're staying just
Right.
ahead. So thinking that you have to have a whole year mapped out, and I gotta have all the lessons there. No, it's like, number one, that of course you feel overwhelmed. But number two, it's not the right approach, because you might secure this one curriculum, this one approach, whatever, and find like, you know what? Okay, my child took this assessment and it said that they were an auditory learner, but now that we're doing this, like, nah, for real, they're hands on, they're kinesthetic, they need to move. Okay, we made medleys, we make medleys, like, like, I know my kids, my daughters are very musically inclined. My two younger ones, I can put anything in the context of music, and they got it. They're engaged. They want to, so I'm already thinking like, okay, one of my 3-year-old, she's a chef. Okay, what experiences can I create for her to cultivate that when we go, to farms, orchards, farmers markets, cool, farm to table cooking. Like, I have all these ideas in mind, but I'm going to expose her so she has a taste, so she can like gravitate to the things she's naturally going to gravitate to. But um I'm giving her the freedom to experience and be drawn into it, but I'm creating the framework. I'm creating the structure. I have the vision. So it's just it's an amazing thing that I'm like, yeah, I want every parent who wants this, like, even if you are outsourcing, like, that's a whole nother thing. You don't have to do it all. Even online schooling, this is how you can supplement. And even for my parents who send their children to a traditional space, you still have to supplement. You should still be supplementing. You should still be creating the life plan, the life vision. Either you do it, you give them a vision, you create a vision for them, or the world's going to give them one. They're going to give themselves one. And depending on who is pouring into your child, like I said, not knocking Bad Girls Club and all of that, but that's what my student, like, she was locked in. She was locked in. And like I said, because I support family and beliefs and all of that, um, I, as much as I wanted to fully go in, it was like, yeah, I don't know, especially the conversations I've had with your parents. I don't know if this would be their thing for you, but it's like, yeah, she didn't have a vision. They just
Yeah.
said, go to school, get good grades, and get a good job. She didn't have a purpose. No purpose was given to her. So she made one for herself. So that's what I do, girl. I help parents become the leaders they need to be, address their issues, become emotionally regulated, address all the reasons why I can't. Like, no, we're gonna eliminate that.
Mm,
No such thing. You
yes,
can and you
yes,
will.
yes. Yes, no, you can't, you don't said it, girl. You said it all. I ain't gotta say nothing. No, you have definitely said it. You touched on some great points. Healing being one of the most profound ones because that is what is stopping a lot of parents from, believing in themselves because they have a lot of traumatic experiences that they have to deal with in themselves to see, hey, no, I am still a great individual. Like because that happened or because that happened doesn't mean that, I'm not the person that's purpose or most qualified to teach my child. I just need to heal through this. And I can get there. So I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing. The parents need it. And I'm glad that you were an educator that saw that too. Like that's how like my mentality had to switch to from kids to parents. Like, all right, I did my time in the classroom. I saw what was missing the most to me. And like you touched on it too, community. A school should be the center of that community. And it's not so much so. It's just a building where we send our kids at a certain time throughout the year and we just hope for the best basically. you
Right,
know
really.
you
Hope for the
know
best.
Godspeed. But I appreciate, like I said, you touched on it all. You really have, and I love the passion that you hold in everything that you're doing. And I know that when the parents reach out to you, they will be finding a great source of encouragement, of motivation, of inspiration, because that's what's needed. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And before I let you go, I need you to leave these lovely parents with 3 things you will want to encourage them to move forward in their homeschooling process. Even if it's just a thought process they're having right now, or just something that has came across their mind, what is 3 things that you would, say, hey, take this with you. Take this with you and go forward.
Okay. Um, so the first thing I would want to remind parents is that you truly are the best person for the job. You did the job from 0 to 5. You taught them so much. Even if you feel like you didn't, you taught them so much. And even if you feel like you were not as intentional as you could have been, well, guess what? You can change that today. With one change, one choice, one decision at a time, with one thing, you can change that right now. Um, I would say number 2, it's never too late. It's never too early and it's never too late. So if you have a 1-year-old, get started now. Creating the vision, creating the end game. What do I want for this child? Even if you don't know the details, who do I want them to be? What characteristics? What traits? What abilities? Like, what do I want them? What do I want for them? And start outlining, creating a map, creating a vision, even now. And if they're 16, guess what? It's still not too late. A lot can happen in 2 years, but you have to be intentional. You have to be focused. You have to take ownership of the situation, and you have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself. Do whatever soul work you need to do to get there. Utilize whatever resources you need, like me and other people, like whoever you need, get that support. But you have to take ownership. You have to take ownership of your life, of their lives, of this experience. And um, yeah, I guess the third thing would be give yourself some grace. Like, don't make excuses. You've been through what you've been through, but give yourself grace. Like, I know it's true for most people. You did the best you could with what you had at the time. You made the best decisions, the best choices with what you had at the time. You know better, you do better. You can't change yesterday. You can't take away from yesterday. It is what it is. So do the healing that's required, figure out what is needed to move forward, and then just go. Just go. And yeah, enjoy the journey. It's like my little bonus. Enjoy the journey. It's a journey. Life is a journey. Life is meant to be lived. Life is meant to be experienced. So just experience like the objectives, the agendas, the assessment, like all of that. It'll come. It'll come. But if you become a lifelong learner, if you become someone who loves life, your kids will too. So you become, and they will become. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me. Like, I just
Of
have to say real quick,
course.
like, thank you for the work that you are doing, like creating the community, bringing people on to let parents know what's out there and know what they can do, how they can do it, and who they need to be to do it. Like, it's because of your work, your commitment, that this is possible. And the tour, like, I've been keeping up with that. Like, you're gonna
Oh,
be out
thank
in my
you.
area soon, in August. I forgot the day exactly, but I'm just so excited. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm just so excited to connect with other people, but also to be able to impart on parents and kids, and just the energy. Like I just know it's going to be a transformative experience for so many people. Like, everybody's going to walk away with something, and it's
Yeah.
because of your commitment, because of your excellence, that it's possible. So I thank you for being an exceptional mother. Like I said, no excuses. Oh, well, I can. I'm a single mom. So what that mean? Make it work.
Make it
Oh, I
work.
can't because
Yeah.
I have, like, no excuses. Make it work, make it happen. So you are leading by example. I am a proponent of it. There's no other way to live, and you're
Yeah.
doing it. So I just have to give kudos to you and thank you for your work. And yeah, I'm so grateful that you have your own homeschoolers who are changing the world even now. They're changing the world. They are. I remember seeing one of your episodes, and you were talking about how the kids were recruiting. Like, y'all would go
Oh
out
yeah,
and they would
girl. They recruit
recruit, be-
yes.
because they feel it. Like, they're like, I'm free. I want y'all to be
Yes.
free. What
Yes.
was it say? You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free, not set you
Mm,
free. It will make you free. You won't have a choice but to get free. Like, these kids are like, nah, y'all gonna be free, friends. Okay, here's your
yeah.
card. Go get to see your mama. Go just get to see your mama. Get to see your daddy and tell them, Mama, Daddy, I want to be free. So, yes, girl, I love it. I feel
Thank
honored
you.
to
Thank
share
you.
this
Thank
space
you.
with you, to follow you, to connect with you. I was like, oh, I'm so excited for this podcast because,
Oh, thank
you
you.
know, it's network and all that, whatever. I was like, I'm
Yes.
leaving with a sister girl. Like, I'm leaving with something special. So I
Yes.
appreciate you. I
I,
really do.
likewise, every time I host, like, I do one of these recordings, y'all don't understand how like refueling y'all are to me. It's like, I know I be having a lot on my plate, but I promise these conversations are like what keeps everything moving forward. It's like, yo, you're not doing this alone. Just know that, remember that always. And just hearing you talk and hearing you share what you share is like, thank you. Look, I'm just sitting back and just listening to you talk because everything is just, I totally agree. Like, I totally agree. I feel everything you're saying. And I appreciate you for all that you have shared. You really touched on some great, great points. And like you started with, remember that this isn't a job that we finish. Like, this isn't something that ends. We are parents forever, forever, ever, right? Ever, ever. So I like how you had started, like you just graduated one, but that was your first experiment. Like, a parent had said at the Maryland conference, like, let me tell y'all about my experiments. And she listed off her three kids and what they were doing now and everything like that. But yeah, the mentorship is always a good proponent for our young adults. to
Yeah.
have, because they still need that guidance. They still need that love. They still need that support. So I appreciate all that you've shared. And so I'm not even going to go on no little rants, but just remind parents, homeschool your kids.
Yes, homeschool your kids, parents. The power is in your hands, and the freedom and joy that awaits you is unmatched.
Yeah,
Unmatched. So,
yes,
thank you so much.
of
Thank you
course.
so much.